We could head down to the casino when we're done here, really. You really need
Give us a present for the past 5 years.
kids getting new shoes.
They were selected there, I only got one.
Oh, time to pay the piper.
You might drive further.
Are you sweating?
I had almost 13-year-old
Okay, folks, I'd like to call the St. Charles County Council meeting on Monday, December the 18th to order. I believe we do roll call first, and then I will entertain a motion for closed session.
You go into the motion first.
Okay, we'll do the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into closed meeting pursuant to State Statute 610.0211 1 and 2.
Do I have a
Second.
We have a second?
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay, we now will go into closed session. All right, folks, I need a motion to go back into open session.
So move.
Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are now back into open session, and we will begin this meeting with a moment of silence that Mr. Elam will mention, and then the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilman Brazel. Please stand.
Oh, we're just going to bow for a moment of silence. I'll pray in my tradition, but we'll pause for a moment and let you pray in yours. Father God, we just pause tonight and commit this meeting up to you, and we think of the time of the season we go into and the birth of your son and the gift that you've given us, and just thank you for the blessings that you continue to bestow upon us, this county, and this country. We pray for our leaders and that they'll seek your wisdom and decisions that they'll make, because we know that your plan is perfect and without shame, and we know that if we'll just be obedient to your will, that your plan will be done and our country and our people will thrive and flourish. We thank you for all the things that you continue to bestow upon us, and we thank you for those who are here tonight. We pray that you'll give us the wisdom that we need from you to make the discernment that we need to in the decisions that come before us. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We don't need to do the roll call. We do have a conditional use permit that was tabled. Is there any motion to bring that off the table? I do not believe that. I hear one. We have a public hearing for the 2024 budget for St. Charles County. And we have speakers for that
Arnie
have signed
Dienoff?
up. Mr. Dienoff, please.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. The budget is historically for the last, I would say, even during COVID, and I would say the last 7-8 years, we have gained revenues to the budget. And we have increased our reserves to dramatic ends. We need to really work and home on some of the budgetary type issues, such as cutting wasteful spending, cutting programs that don't work for St. Charles Countyans, looking at consolidation of many governments that provide the same service. And one example of that would be the 911 PSAPs, public safety answering points that are throughout the county. All the large police departments have a PSAP, and so I would like to see those consolidated either into one PSAP or to a east and west PSAP serving the eastern and the western part of the county. That would be bigger buying power for the county in terms of technology, and it would reduce administrative overhead costs and technology costs and save taxpayer money, resulting in a better deliverance of 911 services. And I would encourage the administration to my right to continue negotiations and talking with the various municipalities such as St. Charles, St. Peters, O'Fallon, Wentzville, Lake St. Louis into consolidating into one or two PSAPs for the county. Now, with the salaries, that's what probably 85% of the budget goes to is salaries. And I am actually embarrassed at the county council's increase of cost of living to our police officers, to our corrections officers, and to our general employees throughout the county, such as highways, public health, prosecutors, and we have 17 departments all across the board to provide many services, and I'm embarrassed at this council in not giving an appropriate cost of living increase, especially over the last 2 years, where in 2022, the cost of living went up 6.9%, and last year went up 7.8%. And so if we don't start doing something in terms of taking care of our employees and paying them the market rate of what they're worth after doing appropriate evaluations, we're going to start losing people, unfortunately, again, and I don't want to see those years of experience walk out the door. But it seems like the county council and the county executive take care of the administrators over these various 17 departments, such as the salary of the director of administration, which is way out of kilter and is way higher than what we pay our governor in the state of Missouri, who is over 55,000 employees and 6 million people. And here in St. Charles County, we have 433,000 citizens, and approximately 1,200 county employees. And Ms. Lycum, the Director of Administration, is paid over $207,000 a year, plus benefits, plus a lifetime pension. And I think that we need to start taking people who are out in the field, our police officers who are responding to domestic calls, to assaults, to taking care of us. They deserve to get the pay raise and not Ms. Lycum. The salary of the Assistant Directors of Administration post, which both of these two gentlemen have been in the post for approximately 3 to 4 years. They're paid over $161,000 a year, plus benefits, plus a pension, and I don't believe that they deserve a pay raise this year. The county executive got a huge pay raise this year when he assumed office. He's making close to $183,000 plus a lifetime pension, expenses, and a brand new police outfitted Ford Explorer with leather seats, moonroof, and a lot of accessories that normal people in St. Charles County don't have in their vehicles. He has in his county police vehicle. The county councilor is making $175,000, and I don't believe that they deserve a pay raise either. And this is all while we leave other positions in the dust, such as our county registrar, who does a phenomenal job for the Board of Equalization, and she acts in the capacity under our county charter as a county clerk. You haven't given her the just raises, and I could go on and on about many departments where it's all about politics, unfortunately, and you hinder people or you teach people lessons and you don't give them the same increases that you give these people right over to my right, and that's really sad. When it comes to the county lobbyists, I ask that you cut out the county lobbyists, the $207,000, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that in citizen comments, but they're buddies. The two lobbyists for the county are buddies of Steve Ellman, and this last legislative session, they got us 0 results because all 12 appropriation bills that were going to bring projects and money to St. Charles County, like for the renovation of the county jail, the county regional law enforcement center, and I could go project after project, they all were down to defeat, and the governor vetoed each and every bill. So they have served us nothing in Jefferson City. And as a matter of fact, the ability of lobbying is placed in the county executive, the director of administration, assistant directors of administration, and he has other people, other staffers in his office that's all they do for 6 months is watch legislation. And it's really sad that we keep paying, because in this contract, they want a 3% pay raise for Mr. Gibbons and a 3% pay raise for Tom Dempsey. In addition to this year, they want both a $12,000 expense account. And I ask that you cut out our lobbyists, and I also ask that you disclose, if you decide to approve the contract on tonight's agenda, that you disclose their weekly updates to you as council members. I've asked you several times, all during last winter, and I keep getting from Mr. Rory O'Sullivan, he doesn't have a document that's responsive to my request. And that's bogus, that's BS. And he just is saying something that isn't true. And eventually we're gonna end up in court costing taxpayers even more money. When it comes to the county prosecuting attorney, the county prosecutor attorney had asked for a number of employees to fight crime, and especially with the auto theft task force, making the number of arrests that they have and the drugs that are coming into St. Charles County to try to cut that gap and prosecute those type of people. He asked for 2 prosecutors and asked for an investigator in some other positions. And I want to make sure that we're adequately funding not only our county prosecutor, but our Office of Public Defender. I want to make sure that we're adequately getting these cases to trial fast so we get a result one way or the other. The county collector's request of the fiscal manager because of the new state law for freezing senior citizen taxes. I want to make sure that that position is approved. It only makes sense. And she also asked for another staff member, and I don't know exactly where that is in the negotiation process. But when it comes to the county assessor, the collector, the recorder, you're nickel and diming those people to death. They're individual, independent office holders elected by we, the people of St. Charles County. You're nickel and diming them when it comes to IT, when it comes to printing per copy, when it comes to using printers and computers. You're nickel and diming them and telling an elected official who runs and directs their own office the way that they see fit and they're accountable to the public. You're nickel and diming them in the general fund. And I always would ask that you cease that to avoid a legal conflict and a legal challenge in county circuit court. I ask that this council leave the county election authority and the county election director, Mr. Barr, and the assistant directors alone. I ask that you do not cut their budget 1 cent. If you do defund that agency, I will personally be filing a lawsuit in county circuit court to restore all budget cuts that sabotage and are unreasonable to we, the people of St. Charles County, to hold appropriate elections. Mr. Barr was elected. He's elected every 4 years. The people of the county either reject or approve his running the county election authority, and it's not up to the council. Under Chapter 115, you have a moral and a legal constitutional obligation to fund that office like other constitutional offices at the county level. When it comes to the county jail proposals, again, I ask that you stop spending the $150,000 and over $30 million in COVID funds on renovating the jail. You're wasting our money. Let's build a state-of-the-art MB jail with the state-of-the-art technology and the cutting-edge ways of providing corrections. Let's build it out by the county police station on Tom Ginevra and O'Fallon, where we have approximately 10 acres, 15 acres worth of land, and let's build a state-of-the-art rather than build and invest in a dinosaur in downtown St. Charles. The county family arena facility, we keep putting money, millions, year after year. It still has not produced a profit. Let's sell it to a private investor, and let's get out of the business of owning a family arena because it's not doing justice to our county. The purchase or possible purchase and continue negotiations with the St. Charles City Hall. Again, you're offering $25 million for a building that is almost 30 years old and is going to need at least $20 to $25 million in renovations. I would ask that we stop negotiating with the city of St. Charles in trying to purchase their city hall. It just doesn't make financial or fiscal sense. Other historic county building right here, we have steps that are crumbling. And I've asked our director of facilities, I've asked the assistant director, Mr. Greifshoe, to fix it before somebody falls and trips and sues the county for negligence, because it's on the record now, it's been on the record for the last 4 years. Please, Mr. Greifshoe, fix the steps all around this county historic office building of the county council chambers. Other purchases throughout the year, let's really hone down and let's start purchasing those products and those services here in St. Charles County rather than all across the state, investing in their economy and not supporting our neighbors and small family business owners right here in St. Charles County. The possible moving of the facilities department and moving of the election department out of the Turner Boulevard location. Again, that would be a wrong, bad move for the county. I would ask that you cease those negotiations and It just doesn't make financial sense at this time. For some reason, the Director of Administration wants to move the election authority and in return, move the Facilities Department out to the Turner Boulevard location. We have another historic office building next to the courts building, and I'd like to see our county either renovate that or do something with it rather than it sit idly by. Why it molds and deteriorates, why it looks bad to the downtown neighborhood. Let's invest in that building and let's use that for office space. Let's use that for overcrowding at the courthouse. Let's look at other alternatives. Let's look outside of the box. I talked about the steps that are in deplorable shape around the county historic office building here. In the unincorporated parts and neighborhoods of St. Charles County, I ask that we look at street sweeping on a more frequent basis of the subdivisions and the neighborhoods to keep up the quality of life. And finally, since our region experiences a number of severe storms in terms of down trees and limbs that are down, I would ask that the county look at a countywide, or at least in the unincorporated areas, a tree limb chipper program that is run by the county highway department. You purchase some chippers in each of our road department districts to help alleviate some of the down trees in terms of storms, because our residents don't know where to go with that debris. They don't know or have the means to cut up those huge trees and those huge limbs. And I believe that it's the position in county government to provide that type of service and a return on investment for the huge amount of taxes that we as citizens are paying, especially at this most historic point this year in December to Ms. McBride. For example, my taxes went up over $500 this year from last year, and I'm sure everybody else is in this room, their personal property value and the real estate value has gone up, and everybody's paying more. So let's provide the best quality services to our residents. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other speakers?
Linda Rance. Thank you very much. Do I hit a button to put
Once you
that
put
on?
it on, it'll show up on the screen. Okay. It takes just a little bit.
Thank you. Linda Rance. I am with Cause of America, Missouri, focused on election integrity. I am not a resident of St. Charles County, but I have authored a book on hand counting ballots that is based on Missouri statute. It has been out for a year as an ebook. It will be published next year and already has a Library of Congress number. So let's straighten that out a bit. I did not come to your last meeting on your budget. I was asked by Councilman Brazel to look at a document that was presented by the election director that talked about cost of elections and especially compared to the cost of hand counting. Now, following up to the previous speaker, I'd like to say this. There has been an inability across the country and also in St. Charles to be able to get actual numbers of what it costs to run an election, especially using voting equipment. It's always shortcoming. They don't give you the specific numbers for the machines. In St. Charles County, I think it was brought up at the last meeting, there have been sunshine requests to the election director asking specifically for those costs from Freedom Principle. I'm aware that two councilmen, Brazel and Baker, have also requested that information. It's not been turned over, so we don't really have information that we can use to compare it. And I will say about not getting that information, it seems to be an issue within the election department, because 2 years ago when we were canvassing, I sent in sunshine requests for voter roll information. And for some reason, I got the similar answer that Freedom Principle got, that my emails ended up in spam or in quarantine. There was some issue with it. Another person who submitted it out of a different county came in asking for information, and that happened as well. So I would like you to know, running an email account to make sure that emails can get through over a 2 or 3 year period is a lot more simple than running highly sophisticated voting equipment. Sorry. So if we can't get emails fixed, and then we're talking about voting equipment, we have to be concerned about that. Now, I went through this document. I sent in a reply with resource material behind it which I am told was forwarded to all of the council members. That was last Monday. I had my email address on every page of the report, and I did not receive any questions or follow-up information about it. So I would like to go through it because I think the people of St. Charles County deserve to understand information that was presented to this council 2 weeks ago that affects your budget, and the report that was made, and the accuracy or the inaccuracies in the report. So first of all, I would like to point out the document that was presented, that appeared to be an Excel document, stated that to change to hand counting, and let me clarify here, I'm not here to tell you to switch to hand counting. I can certainly answer questions about that. But if you're going to be looking at cost, and you're the council and you're responsible for the checkbook, then you must have your due diligence to understand what these costs include, and not just take in a document with a certain set of numbers in it and not review them, because I did. I think I spent more hours reviewing those numbers than this council combined, and that doesn't speak well for the people of St. Charles who voted for you. So, the election authority stated that in the 2020 election, if you had hand counted those elections, it would cost $1.3 million. And I will tell you, based on numbers that I'm going to explain, it would have cost this county $580,000. I don't know what process was used to compare it. This page is a summary. The election authority said it would take 5 days to get the results. And I can tell you, based on the Missouri method, as we called it, which was used in Osage County in the April election, that you could count all of the ballots in St. Charles County and be finished in 8 hours. 8 hours. You had, and I'm sorry, I have to pull up my numbers to see what they are, but that included nearly 70,000 absentee ballots. The rest of the information here is a summary. Let me flip to the next page. Now, this is the document that was presented to you 2 weeks ago at this meeting. I've added 2 red boxes on it because I wanted to call them out. The title of one is the cost to hand count, and the bottom red box shows the $1.3 million. These are my notes that follow up on that amount. The first thing I'd like to point out is that in the left column where you see a lot of blue, yellow, and green rows, those were identified by the election director to show different elections. There were 4 elections in 2020, but they didn't include the presidential primary or the presidential preference election, so I didn't either. But the top blue box in the left-hand column shows the 2020 numbers, and it appears to be the sum and average of the number of races and how many votes would be cast. Further down, where we show the numbers being used, you see the April municipal, the August primary, and the November general. The numbers there, though, if you look in the right-hand side of each of those blue boxes, they don't match. The 2 sets of 2020 numbers don't match. I was able to figure out that they used an average. Okay, so say you're going to use an average of 4 years of election rather than the 2020 numbers. But the next column over, which I put some column identifiers up there, in column D, if you go down, the actual turnout numbers from 2020 were used. Now, when you take an average and then you mix it with actuals, you're mixing numbers. You either use actuals for both, or you use actuals and average, or averages for both. You don't mix and match. But this is where we start to get into some trouble with this document. In the actuals number, you have the municipal, the primary, and then you can see a gray shading on the bottom number. That's the actual voter turnout for 2020. That number is off. That's not the correct number that the election director put there. And I went to the website, your county website, and pulled up the correct number. So first of all, we've got an error there. I don't know who prepared this on the election director's behalf. The next number over is the number of races that had to be counted. So to me, it appeared that what this is supposed to be is column C times column D. If you do the math on each of those lines, the first two don't work. That's a simple Excel calculation, C times D. By doing it this way, these numbers overstate the number of races to be counted by 1.5 million races, or 1.5 million votes. Throughout the rest of this document, and you can see where I put notes on them, there's either no explanation of what these are or how they were brought together. You would have to come to the council and say, this is the budget that I want approved. This is what it's going to take to do it, whether it's these numbers or the numbers to do the election, because I'm assuming if you got this, he also gave you, that the election department provided you with an actual rundown of what it costs to run the elections here in St. Charles County. No citizen that I know of has been able to get a copy of it, so I hope that you have it. So as you sit to approve a budget, and yes, the election department has to be budgeted, they have to have funds, but your job as the council, just like is happening in other parts of this country, where commissions and councils are coming together and making sure to protect the people's interest and say, look, if we're going to fund this, we want to make sure what you're doing is actually what we need. But to just buy more equipment and to just put more items into the election department without actual documentation to show what it is not in the people's best interest. So you've got all the way to the point where you've got in the light blue ones, the cost to hold the election. There is a column, but it doesn't identify what it is, and then it says that hand counting a certain portion of it. But tell me, what are those other numbers? This is a list of questions and topics, whether calling out a mistake or asking for more clarification, that I prepared that said, based on that document that was submitted, these are the details that I think need to be answered so that we can have the basis to understand what was put forth. I don't know if any of that was sent on to the election department, but I would suggest to you that at least those answers be completed before you make any action. I wanted to give you a brief overview of hand counting. Saturday, I had the pleasure of being in St. Charles County and teaching the hand count method to about 30 or so of your residents or residents who came from other counties, and to explain the hand count method. We're doing this all over the country, quite honestly. I've been to other states showing it as well. Missouri has great statutes for this. They're written and they're from 1977. They've been sitting there, and the whole method is right there. All we have to do is follow it. It takes a clerk, or in your case, an election director, to make that decision. So in here, just so you know, we can begin counting ballots 1 hour after the polls open. So the polls open at 6, we can start counting at 7 if need be. I don't even think it's necessary. You can start counting at 2:30 in the afternoon and still have it done in 8 hours, because you count at the polling place or at the precinct level. You count the ballots according to statute in the place where they were cast. Oops. So a counting team is 4 election judges. We don't have poll workers in the state. The only term we use is election judge. They are the judges of the election. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans on every team. If you have a large polling place, you may need more than 1 team. On this page of this document, what I've done is showed you that you have a labor cost of $581,000. You might have additional costs for hand counting. On the left column, I point out things like the markers, the paper, the copying, the printing. But on the right-hand side, without knowing what your base cost is for doing your elections, if you just took the cost of putting those machines in that room, there's additional costs that are in there. The storage, the upgrade, the maintenance, the training. There's a pretty detailed list. I won't try to read it to you all now, but I ask you to please go through and take a look at that, because that affects the cost. Oops. So how many election judges would it take to count all the ballots in St. Charles County, in addition to other judges? These are the totals from your 3 elections in 2020. So I based your number on this. We use a very conservative estimate of 50 ballots per hour per team. You would need 688 for your April municipal, 1,020 for your primary, and 2,944 in the presidential election from 2020. Your election judges come from your registered voters. St. Charles County has 292,000 registered voters. That's in your general election, that's just about 1% of your registered voters. And who's responsible for getting them? Because every clerk and every election director will tell you, we don't have enough people now, how are we ever going to get enough people? It's your central committees, Republican and Democrat. Statute says that by December 10th of the year that committee men and women are elected, that they are to submit a list of names of qualified election judges to the election authority in double the number that the clerk would need, or the election director, for the next 2 years, and whatever general election is in there. In a year with a general election, and if you have 3,000 that you need, that's 1,500 Republicans, 1,500 Democrats. You want to provide double that, so the Republicans would have to have 3,000, the Democrats 3,000. That's not a big number. When we did Osage, we needed a small number, 44, but we had 2 weeks to do it. In 2 weeks, we found 44 qualified people. And actually, they can come from other counties, and they did. Some of your people here in St. Charles County came to Osage and counted an official election so that they could try it and bring it back to their county. I won't read this one, but this chart shows your turnout, but I want to explain something here on the next page. And that one I'm not going to repeat. That is the information on how you get enough people to count an election. But this is the one. Everyone, or many people, will say to you, you can count a small county like Osage with less than 10,000 voters, but you cannot count a small county or a big county like St. Charles with 292,000 registered voters. But here's the truth of it. You have to look at the polling place. So here in April of 2023, we hand counted Osage County. The largest turnout was in the polling place at Westphalia. They had 481 ballots cast. You have now, after you redistrict, you went down to 115 polling places. Of your polling places in this last April election, 83 of them did not reach 481 ballots. 83 of your polling places were smaller than Westphalia. The other 32 barely reached, went over it to 500, but would only need 2 teams. You're not even, so you're at a polling place, you can accomplish it, and that cost you would have been $79,500. And the big one, how do you count those absentee ballots? I toured the St. Louis County election facility the week of the November 2022 election. They get 200 to 300,000 early and absentee ballots in a big election like that, like in November of 2022. I was in the room and saw them all lined up in the buckets on the walls. And yet, seeing their warehouse facility, I used to work in trade show shipping, so I understand the space. They had the space, and they have even more people than you that they could bring in to hand count that election. But what about here in St. Charles County? What about in 2020 when you usually get about 20,000 absentee ballots for a general election? You got 60,000 or 70,000 in 2020 because of COVID, because people stayed home and they were told to try to do mail-in ballots. How do you count 70,000 ballots? Well, I used AI to figure it out this time. I never did that before, but AI gave me a square footage and came back for 136 counting teams, you would need about 3,000 square feet. And so where do you get 3,000 square feet? And my apologies to Arnie for this one. you have more than ample space at the family arena. You could have had tables set up in there, brought the counting judges in there that you needed, set up the tables, and run the entire event. So my purpose of being here, I just want you to know the remaining pages are the data for your 3 elections in 2020, every election, every polling place, and the turnout at every single polling place for those 3 elections. I won't go through all those pages. All I'm trying to say to you is that there are alternate methods. If you're presented with something that tells you, no, we can't do it, we need all this money, we have to do it, I just ask you to look to the resources that are available to you on what else could be. It doesn't have to be hand counting, it doesn't have to be something else, but the fact that the report you were given had errors in it, mathematical errors, and inaccuracies is not what you should use to base your decision on for the election budget for this county, in my opinion. I thank you for your time.
Claire, is there anyone else to speak on this particular budget?
I don't have another speaker card.
Okay. So that ends the public hearing for the 2024 budget. We also have a public hearing for traffic regulations about Hudson Landing appeal. Do we have speakers there?
Phil Bassett?
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Phil Bassett. I live on Hudson Landing, and most of you don't know me, but I'm the author of that very long-winded email that I hope you all read about the reckless driving and speeding in our neighborhood. And I understand that you're voting on our appeal tonight, and before you did that, I wanted you to get some perspective, both mine and the other parents in the neighborhood, on why this is such a big deal to us and why this is so important to me. And 2/3 of that perspective is standing here right next to me. The tall one is Oliver. He's about to turn 7 years old. He's in first grade at Becky David Elementary, and he likes running, he likes soccer, he likes Sonic the Hedgehog, and he likes riding his bike and rollerblading. And the little one over there is Daniel. He is 5. He's in preschool. He likes soccer too, and he likes Star Wars, and he likes riding his scooter and his plasma car, but more than anything, he loves trains. They have an older brother, Andrew. He's 11. He couldn't be here tonight because he's in soccer practice, but he's a great big brother to both of them. I'm here tonight because I am scared for my kids' safety. There are hundreds of children in our neighborhood, and their parents all share the same concern. Our kids deserve a safe place to grow up, and as long as the current level of reckless driving and speeding continues in our neighborhood, they don't have that. In my line of work, we have criteria that we follow for transporting seriously injured patients to specialized hospitals that can provide life-saving surgeries to those that need it. And those criteria are there to help identify people that are at high risk of dying from their injury. For a child struck by a vehicle, to meet that criteria, the speed of the vehicle has to be 20 miles per hour above. The average speed on my street is 34. We have hundreds of people that come by every day who are traveling much faster than that. We shouldn't, right over here, buddy, so they can see you. We shouldn't have to worry about our children being killed by a reckless driver every time they go to the bus stop or go ride their bicycle or walk to a friend's house. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to us. With the present company being what it is, I won't give you a graphic description of it, but please understand that their little bodies don't stand a chance against the level of speed that we see constantly in our neighborhood. We don't want to bury one of our kids because nobody wants to help us with our problem. The highway department said that we don't qualify for any traffic calming measures, and they recommended that we contact the police department to help with the speeders. I had a conversation with Captain Chris Hunt from the police department, who told me that they can't fix our problem and that we should contact the highway department to get traffic calming measures put in. We're going in circles, we're going through all the right steps and following the process, but nobody wants to fix this for us. We need your help. The safety of my kids and the rest of the kids in the neighborhood is in your hands. And I trust that you all take that as seriously as I do. Like I said, we don't want to lose one of our children to this, but it's reckless driving and somebody is going to hurt. We cannot look back and think, what could we have done? This has to be a proactive response. We're counting on you guys to fix this. Oliver and Daniel and Andrew are counting on you guys to fix this. Please help us. Please do the right thing. Thank you for your time. It's a school night, so I've got to get these kids in bed. Yes, they did get their hair colored from me, and no, you can't tell. But yeah, if you have any questions, you all have my email. If you want to come see it firsthand, you're welcome at any time. I look forward to working with you, and Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What type of traffic calming ideas were you thinking?
I'm not an expert in that. Like I said in that email, I don't care how it gets done, as long as something gets done. So far, the only thing that we've had is the radar signs that have been put up, and the problem is in awareness. Everybody knows they're responsible adults. They know how fast they're going. They just don't care. And in the absence of consequences, these people are all doing the wrong thing. So if there's anybody that has any great ideas, we're open to anything. I read through your ordinance, and some of the ideas made sense. But like I said, I don't care what gets done, just as long as something gets done. Not doing anything is not the answer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Claire?
I don't have any more cards.
Okay. You did? Okay. Come on up.
On my card, I put all public hearings, so. Thank you very much, Council. Arnie C., A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, and my heart goes out to that parent, my heart goes out to that resident and his children. However, this county council needs to look at the broader picture in every subdivision, every neighborhood across unincorporated St. Charles County. This same issue, you could ask Chief Frizz, the biggest complaint in every subdivision across St. Charles County and across America is speeding and inappropriate, wrong behavior drivers not making good choices in their driving habits through residential neighborhoods where those speed limits are 20 to 25 miles per hour. That is the number one complaint of St. Charles County residents in unincorporated county. And I'd like to read into the record, I believe in our professional staff. We pay millions upon millions of dollars to our county engineer and our county staff. John Lyons, the county engineer, on December 14th of 2023, wrote the following memo. The Highway Department received a petition requesting traffic calming measures along Hudson Landing from the Heritage Residents Association in May 2022. Staff collected data in June 2022, but waited to complete the full study until traffic calming measures were approved within the revised Traffic Control Ordinance 23-030 dated April 24th, 2023. Staff reviewed the data for accidents, speed violations, traffic volume, presence of schools, presence of parks, driveway density, and presence of sidewalks in accordance with the county's traffic control policy. Based on these criteria, Hudson Landing did not score high enough to warrant installation of traffic calming measures. In June 2023, a subsequent resident requested staff locate the data collection equipment and perform a second study while school was in session. Staff performed a second study at the locations requested in September 2023. While the overall score increased, Hudson Landing did not meet the minimum requirements to warrant installation of traffic calming measures per county traffic control policy. And that was written by your professional county-appointed engineer, Mr. Lyons. I would ask this council to ask Mr. Lyons to testify on the record if he wrote this memo and if he wrote those words to ensure that they're a matter of public record. I also would like you to address this situation with Chief Frizz and the Traffic Safety Division of the St. Charles County Police Department to start a heavy traffic enforcement presence in this neighborhood. Once the warning session is done, word will get out in that neighborhood, in that community, and people will hopefully comply and follow the traffic code and the proper way to drive their vehicle. If not, I would ask Chief Frizz to advise his traffic safety officers to issue to issue tickets to people who violate the traffic code of our county. And trust me, the first 5 people that get that ticket, word is going to spread like wildfire on Facebook and social media, and I'm sure that the problem will be taken care of within a month. But I ask you to go through those measures. I ask you to rely on our county staff, the memo that I just read, and get testimony from the county engineer, Mr. Lyons. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Final speaker.
All right. Next up is public comments. I'd like to remind folks that you must fill out a card to speak. You will be limited to 3 minutes. And Claire, are there any public comments?
Brenda Webb.
Just-
My glasses on. Good evening. I'm here this evening just to remind you about election integrity and the responsibility of elected officials to listen to their constituents, vote for their benefit, their safety, and their prosperity and freedom, not lobbyists or your buddies in other departments or, somebody else. When a county elected official does not respond to legal requests for information, it's your duty and responsibility to not add to or fund their department requests while they refuse to respond to legal requests of U.S. citizens. You all know what's right. You don't need us to come in here every meeting and tell you, or you should know. And we expect you to do your job for the benefit of your constituents. That's the people. Not, for instance, people bust in from a nearby county. We expect you to do the right thing. We know that it is. You know what that is in every single case. Just do your job. Do what is right. Do not fund an election authority that is thumbing its nose at legal requests that you know that's wrong. It's illegal. So I thank you for that. And have a public service announcement. The monkey is coming. The monkey is coming. Oh, Lord, have mercy, the monkey is coming. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. And here's how you need to know it will be. We won't mask up. We won't shut down because St. Charles County is free. Just a friendly reminder because we all know it's coming. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Arnie Dina.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. I want to remind the community countywide that filing for city offices, county ambulance board, water board, who pays themselves $25,000 for a meeting and a half per month, plus other benefits. Fire boards throughout the county, school boards, filing for those offices runs through December 26th. And if you want to know how to file, you have to file a Form 5120, notarized. Some require a filing fee, some don't require a filing fee. But if you want to know exactly how to file, please email me and I'll let you know how to file. My email address is ARNIE, D as in David, IENOFF@yahoo.com. I am asking that I be appointed because of my love and dedication to my county, Mr. Elman. I ask that I be appointed to the Master Steering Plan Committee as I have vested a huge interest and go to all the County Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. I would like to be part of crafting and shaping the 2040 Master Plan. I don't donate to your campaign. I don't give you money for pay for play politics like our two lobbyists have, but I would like to be appointed to that master steering plan committee. I also would like to be appointed to the County Port Authority District 1. There is a vacancy, and you have the chairman, Mr. Ellis, who serves as chairman of the County Planning and Zoning Commission, and also the County Port Authority. You're planning to appoint him on tonight's agenda, but there's nobody from District 1, and I'm willing to serve Mr. Ellman. Put bygones away, and let's stop the hate. Our county lobbyist, we have a governor who booted down 12 appropriation projects last year. Mike Gibbons, Tom Dempsey, former state senators and former colleagues of Mr. Ellman, with the 3% increase and the 12% expense accounts per person, it's going to cost taxpayers $208,900 this year, with no reports. I request that they disclose weekly reports, and there's never anything disclosed by your attorney, Rory O'Sullivan. I drive myself and spend over $2,000 in gas and expenses to our state capitol to testify. We have 13 state representatives that represent portions of our county. Lobbying is a responsibility of the county executive, the director of administration, and the assistant directors of administration. There are no contracts disclosed. You're giving away free money to Steve Ellman's former Senate buddies without some guarantees, expectations, and disclosure to we the people. $208,900, and we as St. Charles
Thank you,
County
Mr. Dino.
residents got absolutely nothing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Claire?
That was the final speaker card.
Okay. That concludes public comments. Next up is the oral report from the county executive.
I have no report unless you'd like to hear from Mr. Lyons on that.
Yes,
Yes, we would.
Do
Mr.
that
Lyons,
now, or
sure.
you want to do it later?
Yeah, I think we can do it now.
Okay.
When did we vote on it?
January.
There's,
Yeah,
there's a
it-
bill for introduction tonight.
It's just a bill for introduction tonight, right? And then we would vote January 8th. Okay, but,
Probably, they need to understand won't be voted on tonight.
okay.
Okay, I'll try to be brief on this. Some of you may recall, we started this process back in 2022, updating our traffic control policy to include traffic calming measures. That is something we've been thinking about for a while. We wanted to create a quantitative review process so that we could actually collect data and make decisions in an unbiased format. We weighted all the criteria so that no individual issue could result in initiate a traffic change. So speeding is weighted higher than traffic volume and so on and so forth. So things that we are looking at are accidents, speed violation rate, traffic volume, increased traffic volume, schools, pedestrian areas, driveway density, and sidewalks. Accidents are based on the last 3 years of data available through police reports. We award 10 points for each accident that is correctable by traffic calming devices, and you can be awarded up to 30 points maximum depending on the level of accidents. Speed violation rate, it is based on the percent of vehicles traveling over the speed limit, not the maximum speed. So even if you are speeding by 1 mile per hour, you will get credit for that. Speed data is collected for 1 week, and 1 point is awarded for each percentage point of vehicles traveling over the speed limit. Again, 30 points maximum. Traffic volume is based on the average daily traffic. Again, our traffic counters are out there for a week. This assumes 300 ADT is going to be your average local street ADT volume, and we award 1 point for every 300 ADT. So if it comes back at 600 ADT, you're going to get 2 points, and you can get up to 10 points maximum. If traffic volume increases, obviously there are things that happen. Sometimes we have new connections to roads that can cause traffic to increase. So we're trying to quantify increases in traffic control that are outside of things going on inside the neighborhood. We award 1 point for every 100 additional cars that we find, and 0 points are awarded if traffic volume were to decrease. 5 points are awarded if there's no previous data. Obviously, we have a lot of streets. Sometimes you don't have previous traffic control data. So in that case, we're kind of giving you some extra points just in case, just for data we don't have. 20 points are the maximum for that category. Schools, we award 5 points for any elementary school that is on the subject street or if there's an ongoing project within the project area. The purpose of this is try to account for pedestrians that may be, children that may be walking to school. So you're looking for elementary school age kids who are of an age to be expected to be walking to school. We also award 5 points if there's a high school on the road, because we are expecting, less experienced teen drivers to be driving in before and after school. Other pedestrian areas. We award points for pedestrian areas that may attract, obviously, pedestrians along the street. We are looking for things like parks, sports complexes, trailheads, something that's going to generate that level of volume. We award 5 points each for each of those pedestrian facilities. Driveway density is based on 1 point for every 10 driveways per mile. So 50 driveways per mile, you get 5 points. 10 points are maximum there. Sidewalks, we award 5 points if there are no sidewalks along the subject street. And to qualify, you have to get more than 55 points. Now on to Hudson Landing. So as that memo of mine stated, it was started in '22. We collected traffic data then. We waited for the ordinance to be approved in '23, and the resident requested a restudy. When schools were in session, they asked for the relocation of traffic counters, which we did, and we finished that second collection in September of '23, and we completed the study in October of '23. So with the first study, we awarded 0 points for accidents. We found 5 accidents reported on Hudson Landing. The reasons given in the police reports were diabetic, low blood sugar, alcohol, improper lane usage, improper U-turn. Those are not items that would be rectified by traffic calming measures. So we awarded 0 points. 2023 study, there were no additional accidents reported. The resident did give us anecdotal evidence that there were unreported accidents, but again, we're going for a data-driven policy here. If I don't have the data, I can't take someone's word on it. So without corroborating police reports, we still awarded 0 points. Speed violation rate, the speed limit on Hudson Lane is 25 miles an hour. We collected the data mid-block originally in '22. In the 85th percentile was 26 miles per hour, so not a huge speed increase. But we did find 21% of the cars were speeding over 25 miles an hour, so we awarded 21 points. In the '23 study, we relocated the equipment per the resident's request. He did have some concerns about tubes being visible and people slowing down when they go over them, and that could skew the results, but that's the equipment we have. And again, I need the data. So we put the collection equipment where he wanted it, and the resident did have some concerns that he pointed out in his letter to you about the accuracy of the equipment. He noted that they purposely drove 50 miles an hour over the collection equipment on October 2nd at 6:01 a.m. And I did not see that in my previous review of the data. So I went back and looked, and I found it, and it is there. So the equipment does work. If you look at this printout, you're scanning through a lot of ones and zeros, and I just missed it. So I misquoted the top speed at the time when I was filling out the form. But as you recall, if you recall, the data or the points are awarded based on the percent of vehicles going over the speed limit, not the top speed. So that 67.8 circled in green is actually the number of points that we awarded. So we ended up awarding 68 points the second time, 30 points the second time around, because the maximum points for that category is 30. The 85th percentile was 31 miles per hour. And actually, if I go back, the average speed was 26 even in the second study. Traffic volume. In the first study in '22, we had an average ADT of 1,506. So we awarded 5 points. In the second study, it went down a little bit, 1,483. Obviously, that number still rounds up to 5 points. So no change between the two studies in traffic volume. Increased traffic volume. Previous study, we didn't have any other studies prior to 22. So they got awarded their full 5 points for not having a previous study. Now in 23, the numbers did decrease a little bit. So technically, per the policy, we could have awarded 0 points. But I took this as we're doing this to replace the previous study because we wanted to do it while school is in session. So even though we had the previous 22 study, I went ahead and gave them their 5 points again instead of dropping that down to 0. Schools. There are no schools on Hudson Landing. And again, we have no ongoing projects in that area either. So in 22, we awarded 0 points. The resident requested Primrose, the Goddard School, and the Family Education Center to be counted as schools. They're up there in that upper right corner and upper center, and Hudson Landing is down in the yellow. Those are all over 1,000 feet away. We would not consider those, for one, close or on, obviously, the street. Likewise, the criteria refers to elementary schools specifically for the reason of we're looking for schools that generate a traffic volume similar to a K through 5 school. We're looking for kids that are going to be in those upper grades walking to school. Primrose School and the Goddard School, they have 130, 150 children. None of them are over kindergarten. They're not walking to school. Francis Howell Education Center doesn't have any enrolled students. It's just a learning center. So again, not a school. These numbers are less than 1/5 of other K through 5 grade schools in the area. So we did not award any points. There are also no high schools present, so there's no concentration of high school teenage drivers. Other pedestrian facilities. There are no pedestrian facilities in the area. That's what we decided in 22. In 23, the resident requested a common ground lot with a park bench be considered a pedestrian facility. That's the park bench that they are wanting 5 points for. Again, going back to our policy, we're looking at full parks, play areas, trailheads, sports complexes. That park bench is not equivalent, so we didn't award any points. Driveway density didn't change, 48 driveways within 3,500 feet, equates to 72 driveways per mile, so 7 points were awarded both years, or in both studies. Sidewalks, no sidewalks are present, so again, they got points for that both times. This is how the scores worked out. The first time they came up with 43 points. The second time, even with our extra 5 points we gave them, they came up to 52 points. They did not exceed the minimum 55-point criteria. And that's why we decided they did not qualify. So,
Yes, Mr. Hammond.
What type of traffic calming measures do we have?
well, I mean, any potential traffic calming measure is on the table until we design it. So, I mean, you could be talking about speed bumps, you could be talking about speed dips, chicanes, traffic circles. I mean, it'll be a case-by-case basis. We would have to look at it if it were to move forward.
Does any of that include putting in a sidewalk?
The traffic, or sidewalks would be different than traffic calming.
Are there any bus stops? Are there any bus stops along Hudson Landing? Do we know?
I know the resident mentioned that there was at least one, but I don't know exactly where it is, or I haven't been able to
I think
confirm if it's
If we
there.
find out that there's a bus stop within this reach, I think that would probably give us some points for the same criteria that you're using to see if there's a school nearby. I mean, because you're looking for kids being present during traffic on Hudson Landing. So I think maybe that's something that maybe should be investigated to see if there are in fact any bus stops along this route on Hudson Landing for Francis Howell, I would assume, Becky David. That might be something to consider. And is this modeled after any particular other municipality or
So we did look at the surrounding municipalities. This one's pretty similar to St. Charles City.
Okay, I do think there's probably some cheaper alternatives, like maybe like, I think I've seen it on Elm Street in St. Charles where they have a speed limit sign. I think it's solar and it flashes your speed. Is that something that, that the county has ever done? You know?
I mean, it's an option. Whether or not you think it'll be effective, you know, I think they're looking for, well, I mean, if it gets through, we would have to look at all the options. That's a whole nother phase once if we
Okay.
actually go through design.
Mr. Swanson?
Yeah, this entire subdivision is very unique, because if you haven't been over there, all the roads have a divider going down the middle of it with trees and everything else. They are already very narrow to begin with. You got Gettysburg, Heritage, Hudson Landing, all these are in the same area. And if we start doing traffic calming measures in one section, Hudson, you know we're gonna be expanding it into the others because people will be asking. My question to you, has any of the other residents within this subdivision asked for traffic calming measures over in Gettysburg, Heritage, et cetera?
So the initial request that was done back in '22 requested 4 different roads. None of them qualified based on these criteria. So yeah, it was, I want to say Heritage was one, Congress Way, I think, was one. Their concern was they feel there's cut-through traffic coming in from upper bottom roads. They were trying to see which of those roads might have higher traffic volumes, but we actually found some of those roads, the traffic volumes had gone down since that connection was made.
And if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe they have an HOA restriction on parking on street, you can only park in driveways,
That I'm not sure.
because it is so narrow.
I'm sure there's no parking on Hudson Landing.
Yeah.
Which
And all the way
narrow
through-
streets is another form of traffic calming.
And that's where, when they built this, that was one of the, I think, features for it. And of course, you have to do the U-turns after you pass so many houses to come back and go to the next house. When we look at traffic calming measures, if you're looking at speed dips, one of the biggest things we have to do is align our stormwater sewers, because you have to have water runoff. Well, you're not gonna run into that with this divided roadway setup. So are you gonna be putting in speed bumps? Then we got issues with plows going through. If we do the speed humps, the longer ones where it's platformed, you've got other issues there. And I got a feeling a lot of those residents are not gonna like to have that right out in front of their house because of how close these driveways are and how narrow it is to begin with. So I don't know if there really is a solution here. Sidewalks, if you wanna start taking over people's yards, and you're looking at a lot of sidewalks coming in for this entire subdivision, so I don't see that being a viable option. I get he wants his kids to play outside and all, but kids playing in the streets are not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
The streets are for the vehicles.
Yeah, Mr. Hammond?
Well, I don't, speed bumps are not the solution, but I know O'Fallon has put in those dips, and from what I've heard from the people who live there where they put in the dips, it's helped tremendously on some of these longer streets. And then you don't have to worry about the snow plows, you know, taking up, worry about them damaging anything, so.
Yeah, that's just when you have to align your storm sewers for the water runoff.
Yeah, there's nowhere for the water to go.
Huh?
There's nowhere for the water to go. It'd be a big puddle.
No, it's at it's at an inlet where they put those, at inlets, so it still drains.
Get
It's gonna
Mr.
be different.
But I think
Francis,
the,
that's coming.
what Councilman Swanson was pointing out is that in O'Fallon where they put in the dips, the storm sewers are there on both sides of the street, where in this situation, you have a center grass median, so you don't have that storm infrastructure. And then Councilman Baker, you asked about the flashing speed sign, the advisory sign. And what we heard from the homeowner was that when the police department put those out there, that people didn't pay attention. And so by placing a permanent one there, yeah, you may get compliance, voluntary compliance up front, but eventually people get used to that sign knowing there's not that enforcement effort. So it's a difficult situation. I think the key that, on this one that I see is that, you know, we studied in 2022. The homeowner requested that it be done while school was in service or in session. It was reevaluated in 2023 when school was in session, and the numbers really didn't change. The average speed on the road, I think, John, you said was?
It was 26 in the second study.
26. I think most of our communities, if our speed compliance was around 26 on a 25-mile-an-hour roadway, would consider that success. And maybe that is because the roads are narrower, maybe that is because they have the median. So it's really, the question that I think John's trying to get to the council is, what problem are we trying to solve here? Yes, the gentleman spoke, and he has his kids, and he wants his kids to be able to ride the bike and play in the streets. But I think as Councilman Swanson said, or Councilman Hammond, kids really shouldn't be playing in the streets. You know, we can't build our streets so that their kids can run and play in them. They play in their backyards, yes, they're available for bikes, and they can ride their scooters, but at 26 miles an hour, average speed, that's a pretty slow speed already. So the question John has put together is by the criteria that the council adopted last year is, again, saying, well, the score shows that there's not a problem. At 26 average mile an hour, does the council believe that there is a problem that's worth fixing? And if so, we have a lot of problems that are probably much more severe than just 1 mile an hour over the speed limit.
John, even if 57 or 60 points, still, what would be the solution? They're probably, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, it's a difficult subdivision for sure.
Yeah.
Because without the stormwater infrastructure, you wouldn't be able to put in a significant number of dips. Obviously, anything with a hump is going to cause problems for plows and other vehicles. The roads are too narrow for chicanes or anything else. I mean, we would work through, work the problem, see what we come up with. But off the top of my head, I don't have anything readily available.
Okay. If I may, one last one. There is a solution, and that's where looking into this, coming from the municipality. We did go into cost shares with subdivisions on this, and something you can put in as a temporary speed bump. The temporary speed bump can be removed in the winter time. Now, it does cost labor and everything else, but if this subdivision wants to move forward with it, I think looking at a cost share would be appropriate for it, especially if they're looking at just this area. How they work, have you seen the temporary speed bumps at all, or have you?
I mean, I think I know what they look like,
Okay.
yeah.
Basically, it's just a couple bolts that bolt down in. When you hit the winter time, you pull them right back up, store them, so that way your plows don't have any issue with them, and you reinstall them back in the springtime. So it is more labor intensive and all, but if this is something that this subdivision desires, a cost share could be a win for everybody on it. So it's something to explore. So at least I want to present some idea versus just being no on everything.
You said speed bumps, humps?
Temporary speed hump.
I could tell you, when I worked at the city of St. Charles as their public works director, we put those in, and we found two problems. One, people were going around them in yards, and then they were honking their horn because they were mad about it, so.
Well, with this subdivision, it'd be really difficult, and I don't know if we've used them in our county parks at all. Sometimes you'll see the temporary ones installed there that can be up and removed. But it's something, once again, I think it should be a cost share, because if we're gonna start doing this for one subdivision, we gotta look at it for the entire county. And that's open.
But I think there's some cost, and I'm looking at Frieden's, where the city of St. Charles put those flashing stop signs right at that, where the signal's gonna go at Fairgrounds and Frieden's. Maybe a slow sign or something, slow children, I mean, something that flashes that gets people's attention, something like that, that's a low cost. I mean, it's not changing the roadway infrastructure, just adding a sign. I mean, when I see those police trailers or whatever sign that tells me my speed, I say, oh, I didn't realize it's going so fast, so I start to slow down. So I do think they work, and I think it's a low-cost solution or potential solution.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your comments. That will move us to the consent agenda. Is there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I have one.
Okay, Mr. Baker?
Excuse me 1 second. The addendum number 3 on the Gudermuth Road.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to remove that particular item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I need a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we move back to Mr. Baker's item.
I just was curious. I was kind of reading through the breakdown, and as an engineer, I put together many proposals for change orders, but what exactly does this adding sidewalk? I mean, if it's what I think, just adding sidewalk to a plan, that should take less than a day, but can you explain
So it was adding sidewalk on a second side of the street. There was crosswalks going in. So there was some regrading work that was gonna have to be done. It wasn't a simple sidewalk, I guess, to go in. So it's definitely more than a day's worth of work.
I mean, part of their breakdown was providing monthly reports, and I gotta believe that they're already doing that, so I don't understand why. I mean, I just can't, I saw that fee, and I was kind of surprised. I mean, you still, when you do a roadway, you still grade out for a sidewalk, you still have the platform, so, I mean, this is just, this is a couple lines on CAD, so this price just really shocked me.
We did negotiate him down from a higher price. I don't remember exactly what the number was. But this is where we got to.
Yeah, I just think that's too much. I mean, I can't imagine it being $36,000 to add sidewalks to a plan. I mean, if they submitted a high bid originally, then shame on them because they got you down to this. But this maybe should have been their first price and you get them down, but this is too high for me to approve. I mean, there's no way. And I can't imagine it's that much, John.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all right.
You'll need a motion if you want to approve that or not, or leave it tabled.
Well, I believe that we can go ahead and vote on it, I would think. I don't
Just need
think
a
we
motion
need,
to approve.
would you like it tabled for him to look into it a little bit farther or not, Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I'd like to get more of the detail. I mean, I saw the details of what they broke down, and I don't agree with any of it. I mean, I really don't. And that's what I've done for the past 25 years, so.
Do I have a
mean,
motion that, to table this particular item?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we will come back to that at a later date. Okay, next up is bills for final passage, beginning with bill number 5244.
Bill number 5244, an ordinance authorizing the St. Charles County Police Department to execute documents for receipt of grant funds in the amount of $83,877 from the Missouri Department of Social Services for Child Sexual Assault Investigation Services.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5244, an ordinance authorizing the St. Charles County Police Department to execute documents for receipt of grant funds in the amount of $83,877 from the Missouri Department of Social Services for Child Sexual Assault Investigation Services. Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5244 passes. Next bill for final passage, bill number 5245.
Bill number 5245, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding to allow for the appointment of certain employees of St. Charles County as team members to the Missouri Region C Incident Support Team.
Questions or comments on this particular bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5245, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding to allow for the appointment of certain employees of St. Charles County as team members to the Missouri Region C Incident Support Team. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Okay, bill 5246 passes. Next bill is bill number 5247. Excuse me, 5245 passes. Next bill is 5246, I'm sorry.
Bill number 5246, an ordinance approving the Transportation Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2024 through 2026 and corresponding intergovernmental agreements.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5246, an ordinance approving the Transportation Improvement Plan for fiscal years 2024 through 2026 and corresponding intergovernmental agreements. Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5246 passes. Next bill for final passage is bill number 5247.
Bill number 5247, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2024 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri.
Questions or comments on this year's budget?
Okay. As I mentioned before, I had questions about the direction of the election authority, and we had had the director come up and make some presentations at the last meeting on some questions that he very vaguely answered. And in his comments he had made, I had very simple questions on all the costs of current voting machines, tabulators. He had told us $1 million is what he told us at the last meeting. And its actual cost was $4.4 million. And so that was provided by, well, Joanne put a number and so did Donna. So the cost is 4.4, he said $1 million. So let's just be clear here. I understand that the election director is in charge of running the elections, and that's the way it is, and that's law. But it's our job to fund the election authority. So he has still not addressed any of the Freedom of Information requests. That's required by law. The Freedom Principles has sent in 6 questions, and he had never responded. It's been months. It's a violation of the law. I sent in the questions back in May on just getting the cost of what it is to run an election, the trucks, I made a point, how big is the warehouse space and how much does it cost per month for rental? He said, well, we own a building. Well, if you're a businessman, you know that there's cost. No matter what, you have to have the cost. So if it's $5 a square foot for 3,000 square feet or $6 a square foot for rental space, that's what it is. You got to account for that. And so there's no accounting for the warehouse space for storage, because if we weren't storing all these machines, it would be available space for office space or some other use. There's a use for it with other than storing machines. All the trucks that we have hauling machines around, because what they do is they haul them to location and then they load them and they haul them back. All the labor, storage, maintenance. So the cost is actually $4.4 million. He said $1 million. And so I have a real problem with this. Even if the council members don't agree with what I'm doing or what I'm attempting, they should agree with the fact that a Freedom of Information is a state statute and is a law. I read it to you last time. I'm not going to read it again, but I have it right here. And he is required by law within, 14 days to respond. And if he's not going to answer the question, he has to respond why. And he has not responded to the 2 county council members and to the certain members just in the community that's asked the same questions. So with that being said, I cannot, in good conscience, give any funding to the election director at this time until these questions are answered, because it is our job to fund departments, not to run them, but to fund them. And so I am going to make a motion to amend the budget to remove expenditure lines item and fund line and line items 001040, 4110 through 001040 through 46570, and 2340, 410 through 41210 through 2340, 410 and 45910. I'm making a motion to do that. What the purpose would be is this: if like the council members say, we have no control over the election authority, we do have control over a purse string. So this would be a way to say, okay, I don't agree with Councilman Brazel's questions because I don't think he's doing anything wrong, but I do agree with the fact that someone should address questions when they're answered when they're an elected official. And that's what you should agree with. It's just a policy and it's a state statute. So I'm going to make that motion. If I get a second, I'd appreciate it. If not, that's fine too.
Okay, there has been a motion made. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Okay, I think we'll just go ahead and do a roll call vote on this particular, whether to...
Councilman Swanson?
No.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
No.
Councilman Hollander?
No.
Councilman Hammond?
No.
Councilwoman Schneider?
No.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay. So the proposed amendment to the budget has been defeated. So now in front of us is the actual budget itself. And I believe we need a motion to amend this. Is that correct?
Is that the substitute?
Yes, the
Yeah,
substitute,
to adopt the
substitute, substitute, I'm sorry.
So I make a motion to amend Bill number 5247 and replace it with substitute Bill 5247.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Go ahead and do a roll call again on this one also.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Councilman
This
Brazel?
is for the substitute bill?
Yes.
Yes, yes, mm-hmm.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
All right, we now have the substitute bill in front of us. Are there any questions or comments on the particular budget in the substitute bill? Okay. Seeing none, please call the roll.
I was just going to make a comment. I think the executive staff did a good job with the budget this year. It was clear, and they addressed concerns. I won't be supporting the budget because of the election authority issue, and it has nothing to do with what you guys did, just so you know that, just for my point. And I said this from the beginning if these weren't addressed.
Thank you, sir. Please call the roll.
Substitute Bill Number 5247, an ordinance adopting and appropriating the fiscal year 2024 budget for St. Charles County, Missouri. Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
No.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Okay. The bill number 5247, appropriating the fiscal year budget, has passed. Next up is bill number 5248.
Bill Number 5248, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Family Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit Court in the St. Charles County relating to the proper care and custody of juveniles under the age of 18, certified as adults in the Juvenile Detention Center.
Questions or comments, please? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill Number 5248, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Family Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit Court and St. Charles County relating to the proper care and custody of juveniles under the age of 18, certified as adults in the Juvenile Detention Center. Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes. Okay. Bill number 5248 passes. Next bill for final approval is bill number 5249.
Bill Number 5249, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute annual agreements with the University of Missouri Extension Council of St. Charles County to provide educational programs and services not to exceed $115,000, consisting of the annual appropriation of $100,000 and a one-time appropriation of $15,000.
Questions or comments on 5249? Yes, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why are we funding the school system? I'm sure we get some benefit out of it, but I'm not sure what it is.
Mainly because we still have some agricultural areas in the county that use the extension. And then there are also a lot of programs that suburban people can use. I remember I had them several years ago. My grass wasn't growing right, I had them test my soil, and they said, "Oh, you need to add this, that, and the other thing." So there's a lot of things that they do. We don't have to fund it at this level. I think, what is it?
10,000 for a county of our size, but we have a long history of at least 100,000.
There's a statute says we got to give them at least 10,000. So if you want to look at how we're spending it, between now and next year.
Curious what the benefit for the county is, but I think you're.
Yeah, my experience is that it's a very underused situation, and the citizens of St. Charles County, if they had more knowledge, would use the extension a lot more than it's been used, because they have an awful lot of answers to an awful lot of questions when it comes to a lot of things, as County Executive mentioned. I think they really do provide quite a valuable service for those people who ask.
Do we have, I remember John White was on this board. Do we have a county council member on the extension center?
It's not necessarily required to be a county council member. We do have an open seat for it that needs to be appointed.
Yeah, because when John was on it, we got a lot of good information from it. And I think in the rural areas, I think this is important, they help you with their cattle and other stuff. And
They also have a number of programs for the suburbanites that are the majority of our population, including the Master Gardener Series, which is very popular amongst natural gardeners in the county. They have a large number of people who participate in that and other programs like that.
Do we get an appointment to it?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a council
Doesn't
person?
have to be.
If anybody's interested, let me know.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Bill number 5249, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute annual agreements with the University of Missouri Extension Council of St. Charles County to provide educational programs and services not to exceed $115,000, consisting of the annual appropriation of $100,000 and a one-time appropriation of $15,000. Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5249 passes. Next bill is number 5250.
Bill number 5250, an ordinance amending sections 115.050, 115.115, 115.130, 115.190, 115.222, 115.270, 115.290, 115.305, 115.320, 115.370, 115.390, 115.400, 115.410, 115.420, 115.430, 115.460, 115.580, 115.600, 115.670, 115.707, 115.708, 115.710, 115.721, 115.722, and 115.920 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, and enacting new sections 115.125 OSCCMO, and deleting and relocating sections 115.762 and 115.765 OSCCMO, two new sections 115.701 and 115.702 OSCCMO respectively, and repealing and replacing section 115.720 OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes.
make a motion that we amend Bill 5250 and replace it with substitute Bill 5250.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we now have the substitute bill in front of us, and I don't think we need to reread that entire thing, do we?
We have
We
to.
do. Okay, I'm sorry about that, Claire, but give it a whirl. Okay.
Substitute Bill number 5250, an ordinance amending sections 115.050, 115.115, 115.130, 115.190, 115.222, 115.270, 115.290, 115.305, 115.320, 115.370, 115.390, 115.400, 115.410, 115.420, 115.430, 115.460, 115.580, 115.600, 115.670, 115.707, 115.708, 115.710, 115.721, 115.722, and 115.920 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, and enacting new sections 115.125 OSCCMO, and deleting and relocating sections 115.762 and 115.765 OSCCMO, two new sections 115.701 and 115.702 at OSCCMO respectively, and repealing and replacing section 115.720 OSCCMO, all concerning the Personnel Administration Plan, including but not limited to benefits. Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5250 passes, and the last bill for final passage is Bill 5251.
Bill number 5251, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for 2024 advocacy and lobbying services.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I just
Baker.
want to allow Mr. Elman to expand on, I know Mr. Dinoff had some concerns about the lobbying services, but can you expand on what all these lobbyists do? I mean, did they provide updates and
They got the legislature to pass an $8 billion bill to put a third lane on I-70 and to start it at Wentzville, which is going to be a tremendous boost to
agree.
this area.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, please call the roll.
Bill number 5251, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements for 2024 advocacy and lobbying services. Councilman Swanson?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5251 passes. We have one bill for introduction, Bill 5252.
Bill number 5252, requested by Terry Hollander, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance overturning the determination of the county engineer and establishing traffic calming measures.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I got one question on that. John, this is the first one that we've dealt with, is that correct? Or have you guys approved, like with this new formula and this new method, have you approved any of these things?
We've had 6 submittals, we've approved 2 of them.
2 of them? Okay.
And they beat the 55-point score.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, yes.
Can I ask John a question?
Sure.
I think it's pretty impressive, the amount of data you have here. How long did it take you to put that together?
I mean, really, most of the work is done by the traffic counters during that week that they're out. And then it's just a
But
matter
are
of-
these people that could be doing something else, or are these people we hired just for that?
No, it's equipment. It's equipment.
Oh, you're talking about, okay. So if you had to do a bunch of these, it wouldn't,
It goes pretty quickly.
Go pretty quickly.
Usually,
okay, no, that's
as long as we
good.
don't run out of equipment, it goes.
That's good, because I think it's impressive, and if it's also cheap, that's even better.
I will put that.
Okay, all right, that concludes our bills for passage and bills for introduction. Announcements and miscellaneous. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank the 3 people sitting to the left of me who, as always, do a tremendous job on the budget, put in an incredible amount of time. There's some other people in the finance department I know that work just as hard as you do. I want to thank them.
Samantha.
Pardon me?
Samantha Shadrack.
Samantha.
And
yeah,
Paul.
Samantha, who else should we mention? Stacy and anybody else?
Tracy and Allison.
Or Tracy.
Finance.
And I think I speak for them when I say that it's a lot easier to do a budget when we've got some money to spend. And hopefully the economy will continue to behave as it has, and we won't be in a kind of situation we've been in the past. But when we are there, I know you'll still get the job done. Of course, it's going to be, next year it's going to be minus Bob. And we're really going to miss him every day, but we're going to really miss you at budget time.
As we've missed Debbie Salvo this year.
Oh, yeah.
We learned that not only was she probably working 40 hours a week when she should have been working 3 days, she was probably working 60 hours a week during budget time.
Sure.
And we've all filled in and chipped in to fill in for her, but gosh, she was a workhorse for this county for way over 40 years, and
Yeah.
we miss her every day, and especially during the budget process. As I know, we will miss another person who's leaving us under much happier times
Yes.
as she retires.
That was
soon.
my next order of business here. And it is with great pleasure, but also a lot of sadness that we want to wish Donna Vogt 38 years, is that how many you had, with St. Charles County. Obviously, our beloved secretary, and not just beloved, but vital. I've been a councilman for 15 and a half years, and I don't know what I would have done on almost any month without your help and your knowledge and your insight. And I think we all feel the same way.
I second that.
We are going to miss you greatly, but we all know that, speaking from experience, retirement's a great thing, It really,
So I've heard.
it really is. So it's, like I say, with some sadness that we will miss you, and this is your last meeting of God knows how many that you
Over
have.
600.
Over 600.
Not counting, right?
Boy, I bet some of those were doozies, weren't they?
Yes.
They've all been uneventful.
And we do have a new employee that's
Yes, we
here
do.
too.
Yes. Okay.
If she'll stay with us after.
Maybe.
Would you like to make the introductions here? Yes.
Lori Hennessy.
Lori, please stand up. She will be, Claire will be moving over one, and Lori, you will be sitting right there. We certainly welcome you to county government and our county council.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say, Donna, you'll really be missed. We've grown to love you over the years,
Back at you.
Yes.
so enjoy.
Thank you.
Hey, before we get out, I did want to say hats off to Chief Riz and to his folks. They did a shop with a cop at Coles in O'Fallon, and I think they did, what was that, Sheriff Lewis? Sheriff and police, so sorry about that, Sheriff, I didn't see it, my bad. So thanks to our law enforcement community for St. Charles County. I think it was over 52 kids, something like that, that they did shop with a cop, and just appreciate all you guys do for us every day, but it was really nice making a difference in those kids' lives, so thanks to our law enforcement professionals for stepping up and doing that, so we appreciate you guys very much.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
We'll miss you, Donna.
Back at you, really.